The ground was shaking. Smoke filled the sky. Blaster fire echoed through the valley as alien troops fled in every direction. Ships crashed in flames above, and bodies lay scattered across the burning soil. Among the chaos, one figure moved but. Just barely. She was a warrior once, proud and fierce. Her name was Talisian, a soldier of the Zellari Empire. Her armor was cracked, blood poured from her shoulder, but worst of all, her legs wouldn't move. She had fallen when the explosion hit her squad, and now she could only watch. Her comrades ran past her, not stopping, not even looking down. "Commander?" "Help," she whispered, voice shaking. Commander Drovik turned to her only for a moment. His cold eyes didn't blink. "You're finished, Talai," he said. "We can't carry the weak." And just like that, he was gone. Talisian lay still, the heat of the fires creeping closer. Her people had left her. She was paralyzed, useless. She tried to crawl, but her arms were trembling. Each movement sent sharp pain through her back. Her fingers dug into the dirt, her breath shallow. Then came silence. The shooting stopped. Even the screaming faded. Now there was only the crackling of fire and the quiet hum of distant engines. Talisian looked at the sky, dark and filled with smoke. She blinked to stay awake, afraid that if she closed her eyes, she would never open them again. She had trained for glory, for victory, not to die in the dirt like broken garbage. Suddenly, a shadow fell over her. At first, she thought it was death. Boots crunched beside her head, heavy, armored boots, not like the ones her people wore. A deep voice broke the silence. "You still alive?" Taylor tried to turn her head. It took all her strength just to look. A human soldier stood above her, dusty and battle-worn. His armor was scratched, his rifle on his back. His name tag read, SGT Cole. She flinched, expecting him to aim at her, to finish what her people had started. Instead, he knelt down. "You're hurt bad," he said, eyes scanning her body. "Spine's probably damaged. Can you feel your legs?" Taylor shook her head slowly. He cursed under his breath. "Your squad left you?" "Yes," she whispered, ashamed. Cole looked around, then back at her. "I don't leave people behind," she blinked in confusion. "But I'm not your people." He didn't answer. Instead, he slid his arms under her back, carefully, as if she might break. She winced in pain, but didn't resist. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Saving your life," he said simply. The ground shook again, another explosion in the distance. Cole stood up, lifting her in his arms. She was light, like a child, but her body was burned and broken. Her blood soaked into his chest. "Plate, I don't understand," she whispered. "Why?" He didn't answer, but his grip was steady. As he began to walk, the battlefield stretched before them, full of dangers. Talisian let her head rest against his shoulder. Her people had left her like trash, but a human, a stranger, was carrying her out of hell. Maybe she wouldn't die today. Maybe not all humans were monsters after all. And maybe, just maybe, this one was her only hope. Sergeant Cole moved fast. The alien woman's body was weak in his arms. Her armor was scorched, one arm limp. Her breathing was shallow but steady. Every step he took stirred ash into the air. The sky above was black with smoke and falling debris. But his eyes stayed forward. His squad had gone ahead hours ago. He had fallen behind for her. The radio in his ear crackled again. "Cole, where the hell are you?" It was Lieutenant Marston's voice, angry and sharp. Cole tapped the side of his helmet. "I found a survivor." "Then mark the location and keep moving." "Soldier, she's not ours." Cole didn't respond. He just switched the channel off. Talisian opened her eyes slightly, confused. "You ignored your commander?" He didn't stop walking. "Some orders aren't worth following." She blinked. "But I'm the enemy." He looked down at her. "You're breathing, bleeding, and broken. That's all I need to know." The ground trembled beneath them again. In the distance, plasma fire lit up the hills. The battle was still raging farther north. But here, the land was quiet, too quiet. A low sound caught his eardrums. He dove. behind a large rock, holding Tylee close to protect her from the blast. Above them, 2 scouting drones buzzed past, scanning the area. They didn't stop. Tylee stared at him, breathing hard. "You could have dropped me." "I didn't," he replied, gently adjusting her so her weight didn't press on her injured spine. "No one ever did this for me," she whispered, almost like a secret. "Not even my kin." He glanced at her again, his voice calm. "Then they didn't deserve you." Her eyes widened slightly. No one had ever said such words to her, not even when she stood tall and proud in her war banners. Not even after her first battlefield kill, now paralyzed and half dead. A human gave her more kindness than her entire life had. Cole checked his surroundings. They were far from any shelter, and the sun was beginning to set over the smoking cliffs. He pulled a small data pad from his belt, scanning for terrain markers. "There's a supply shed 2 clicks south," he muttered. "Half collapsed but may be safe." He adjusted his grip again and began walking through the thick dust. The land ahead was uneven, broken by craters and charred trees. Taylor winced with every step. "You shouldn't waste your strength," she said. "I'm not worth it." Cole shook his head. "That's not your decision to make." She was silent. After that, her eyes stayed open, watching the world pass. She noticed his breathing growing heavier. His legs never stopped, but the weight clearly slowed him down. Sweat rolled down his neck, and still he didn't let go. "Why do humans care so much?" she finally asked. "Even for enemies?" Cole didn't speak for a long time. Then he said, "Because if we stop caring, we become like everyone else out here." She didn't ask who everyone else meant. She already knew. Eventually, he reached the shed. It was half buried in rubble, but one door still hung crooked on its hinges. He set her down inside gently on a patch of old blankets. She gasped as her back touched the ground. "I can't feel my legs still," she said quietly. "I'll get medical," he said. "Just hold on." Taylor looked up at the roof, cracked and leaking light, then at the man who had carried her across 2 battle zones. "You don't even know my name," she said. He gave a tired smile. "Then tell me." "Talishan. Nice to meet you, Taylor," he said, kneeling beside her. "I'm Cole. Sergeant Cole," she added, nodding slowly. He stood, scanning the area once more, his rifle ready, his steps silent. Talia closed her eyes. Her body was broken, but something deep inside her had shifted. This human, this enemy, was her only light in the darkness, and maybe the only soul who ever truly saw her. Tali Shen didn't sleep that night, not because of the pain, but because of the silence. She had grown up in war trained in noise, shouts, alarms, orders, but this silence. It was heavy, full of questions. The human Cole sat just outside the half-broken shelter, rifle in hand, guarding the door like a sentry. His armor was dented, and his face was streaked with sweat and ash. Yet his eyes stayed alert, watching the hills. Taylor turned her head slightly. "Do humans always guard their enemies?" Without looking back, he replied. "You're not my enemy right now," she frowned. "Then what am I?" He was quiet for a moment, then said, "A life worth saving." Talia blinked slowly, unsure how to respond. Her people never used such soft words. They used numbers, rankings, mission value. A warrior who couldn't fight was considered a failed investment. To be left behind was standard. She looked at her hands scraped, weak, trembling. Her body was still broken, but something inside was stirring. Then came the sound, distant at first, like a whisper on the wind, wheels, not boots, rolling fast across dry earth. Cole tensed immediately. "Company," he said, crawling closer to the door, through the cracks. He saw them 5 Krell mercenary bikes, ugly metal machines powered by fusion cores and rage. Talishan's voice dropped to a whisper. "Scavengers. They strip the wounded and kill the rest." Cole nodded. "They'll smell blood soon." He moved fast, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. "If they find US, I need you to stay quiet. Don't move, don't speak no matter what." Tali hesitated. But what about you? I'll distract them, he said. You're not dying today. Before she could argue, he was gone, slipping through the side wall of the shed like a shadow. Tali's breath caught in her throat. Outside, the engines grew louder, closer. She lay still, heart pounding, eyes fixed on the ceiling. Then she heard them, alien voices, growling and laughing. Something smells fresh, one said in a sharp tongue. Could be a corpse. Another chuckled. Or prey. Footsteps approached, crunching dead leaves and broken rocks. A heavy hand slammed against the shed's metal wall. Let's check inside, a voice said. Talishan gritted her teeth. She could barely move, couldn't run, couldn't fight. But then gunfire, not random, not wild controlled. Cole's rifle barked 3 sharp times. One merc went down with a scream. Ambush. The others shouted, diving for cover. More shots rang out, precise and deadly. From the ground, Tali listened in terror. The walls shook with every blast. Then silence again. For a moment, she thought. Maybe Cole had lost, maybe they'd found her. But then the door creaked. He stepped inside slowly. Blood on his armor. A fresh cut on his cheek, but alive. All clear, he said. Breath heavy. But we have to move. More will come. She stared at him, speechless. You killed them. For me? Cole didn't smile. For us. He knelt beside her again, checking her wounds. Her skin was cold now, her pulse thin. I can't carry you forever, he whispered. We need help. Tali closed her eyes. You should have left me. No, he said firmly. They already did. I won't. Outside, the night wind picked up, howling across the broken land. But inside that small shed, in the middle of nowhere, one alien and one human shared something rare in war trust. And that was stronger than any bullet. Talishan lay quietly across Cole's back, her arms hanging loosely around his neck. The world around them was broken, twisted steel. Scorched trees and smoke still rising from old craters. Every step he took sent jolts of pain through her spine. But she didn't make a sound. She had stopped asking where he was taking her. At first, she thought this was a game. Maybe he wanted something. But now she wasn't so sure. This wasn't a trap. It felt safe. It felt strange. It felt wrong. Because kindness wasn't something she was used to. Especially from her own people. She remembered when she joined the Zalari war program. Just a child, she had passed all their physical tests. Beaten boys twice. Her size shown no tears when her arm broke during training. They called her Tali the Unbreakable. But it wasn't praise, it was pressure. The moment she slowed down. They shouted when she asked for rest. They laughed. And when she was injured the first time, they told her, "Don't bleed where someone can see." She remembered lying in the med bay, half-conscious, while her superior whispered to another officer, "If she fails again, recycle her armor. We'll give it to someone who deserves it." That was love in the Zalari way, cruelty disguised as strength. Now, a human was bleeding from his arms because he refused to let her fall, and that made no sense. She finally spoke, her voice soft against his back. "You're strange." Cole kept walking, his boots crunching across rubble. "How so?" "You don't owe me anything," she said. "I'm broken, heavy, and slowing you down." "True," he said. "You are heavy." She actually laughed, surprised by the sound. Cole smirked. "But broken?" "No, you're just hurt." She hesitated. "Where I'm from, hurt means useless." "Then your people are fools," he said without hesitation. Tali grew quiet again, the warmth on his back. It made her chest hurt more than the wounds ever did. She didn't want to feel this, didn't want to believe someone like him existed, because that would mean her people really were the monsters. They reached an old human outpost by nightfall, half collapsed. But with working lights and a locked emergency shelter, Cole carried her inside, gently placing her on an old medbed. As he activated the stations, "First aid drone," Tali whispered. "Cole." He turned, eyebrows raised. She looked him in the eye. Why do you keep doing this? He paused, then answered slowly. Because when I needed help once, no one came, and I swore I'd never do. That to anyone else, she blinked. Even if they're your enemy? Cole sat beside her, wiping dirt from his gloves. Pain doesn't care about sides. And neither do I. Talishan stared at the ceiling for a while. Her hands trembled, but not from pain this time. For the first time in her life, someone saw her not as a warrior. Not as a soldier, not as property, just as a person. Tears welled up in her eyes. She turned her head away quickly, ashamed, but Cole didn't laugh, didn't mock her. He just said softly, "Rest. We've got more walking to do tomorrow," as her eyes closed. She whispered the words she had never said out loud before, words no one had earned until now. "Thank you." Cole didn't reply, but he smiled, and outside, while the galaxy still burned in endless war, something very rare was born inside that bunker. A quiet bond that didn't care about species, language, or blood-only choice. The emergency shelter was quiet, too quiet. The lights flickered every few seconds, casting long shadows on the cracked metal walls. Cole sat near the door with his rifle resting across his lap. Talishan lay on the medbed, her body still unable to move from the waist down. Her wounds had been cleaned by the station's old medical drone, and pain suppressors had been injected. But her mind was loud. She didn't trust peace. Peace meant something was hiding, waiting, and she was right. Cole heard at first something light tapping on the outer wall. He stood slowly, ears alert, tap, 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 not wind, not metal creaking. It was a rhythm. He pulled his rifle close and scanned the door, then turned to Talai. "Don't move. Don't talk," he said softly. She nodded, her eyes wide now. The tapping stopped, replaced by a soft hiss, then a metal whine. Something was cutting through the wall. Cole moved to the side, crouched low, weapon raised. Talai felt her heart racing, her fingers twitching. She hated being helpless again. She wanted her blade, her armor, her legs, but all she had now was her voice. And she didn't dare use it. A panel near the back of the shelter suddenly popped loose. Out slithered a thin, oily-looking drone round. Black with one glowing red eye, it turned toward Talai first, scanning her body. Then it chirped sharply, signaling something. A sniper drone. They weren't alone. Cole fired first, 3 rounds straight to the eye. The thing exploded, sparks flying everywhere, but the noise. It had been a signal. A shadow fell over the front door as someone or something tried to override the lock. Cole grabbed Talai and rolled her off the bed to the floor. Shielding her body with his own, the door burst open. Smoke poured in. Then footsteps, slow and confident. A figure stepped through, tall, armored in black bone plate, carrying a long rifle with strange glowing runes. "A bounty hunter," Talai whispered. "That's a Tarvak." "Death Seeker." Cole kept his weapon trained. "Friend of yours?" She shook her head. "They hunt for payment, half machine, half madness, if he's here. Someone wants us dead." The Tarvak aimed at Cole, its voice raspy through a translator. "Step aside, human. The Zilari female belongs to my contract." Cole's jaw tightened. "She's under my protection." The Tarvak tilted its head. "Then you die together." A flash of blue light. Cole ducked just in time as plasma scorched the wall behind him. He fired back, shots bouncing off the Tarvak's chest plate. Talai clenched her fists. "You can't win this one head on." "I'm not planning to," Cole grunted. He threw a smoke grenade from his belt. It burst with thick white clouds, covering the entire room. Through the chaos, Cole dragged Talai behind the heavy supply crate. "She's marked," the Tarvak shouted from the smoke. "There's nowhere you can hide her." Cole checked his ammo, only 3 shots left. He looked down at Talai. "Can you move even a little?" She focused hard, sweat beading on her brow. Her toe twitched barely. "I felt that." She gasped. "That's enough," he said, and pulled a broken energy cell from his pouch. He threw it toward the center of the room, shot it mid-air. Boom. Shockwave blasted the Tarvak back against the wall. Cole didn't wait. He hoisted Talai again and ran out the back hatch into the dark, rocky valley behind them. The shelter crackled with fire, and the bounty hunter screamed in fury. They didn't stop running until the hill swallowed the shelter from sight. Later, under the stars, Cole collapsed against a boulder. Breathing hard, Talai lay beside him on the ground, looking up. "You should have left me again," she whispered. Cole chuckled. "You're starting to say that too often. You're starting to save me too often," she replied, managing a faint smile. Cole leaned back, his voice low. "That bunker was supposed to be safe," Talai nodded. "Nothing in this war is safe, except one thing." He looked at her. "What's that?" She stared into his eyes. "You, asterisk." The night was still but not peaceful. Talishan lay beside the fire Cole had built with broken wreckage and flares. Her body was wrapped in a thermal blanket, and a small oxygen mask hissed softly beside. Her cheek, she could now move one foot, just slightly. It was progress, Cole had said. But to her, it was a miracle. The cold air bit at their skin. The stars above seemed too bright for a world so full of pain. Then, in the distance movement, Cole stood quickly, lifting his rifle. Lights flashed behind the ridge, flickering green. Smooth, efficient, not bounty hunters, not scavengers. These were military formations. Talishan blinked at the pattern, her heart sinking. "It's them," she said quietly. "My people." Cole didn't lower his weapon. As the figures approached, Talai could see their shapes clear. A sleek Zalari armor, polished and untouched by battle. Leading them was Commander Drovik, the same man who had walked past her bleeding body and left her to die. He stopped a few feet from her, his expression blank. "Well," he said coldly, "you're still breathing." Talai didn't speak. "You were supposed to be dead," he added. "That would have saved us paperwork." Cole stepped between them, his voice sharp. "She was dying. You left her behind." Drovik raised an eyebrow. "And what is she now?" "Crippled, half-healed, broken." "She's a liability." Talai clenched her jaw. "I was your soldier, and now you're a stain," Drovik said. "Your survival was not authorized." Cole's fingers twitched near his trigger, but Talai shook her head once. "Don't," she whispered. Drovik turned to his squad. "We'll take the body back, strip her armor, recover her implant core, and burn the rest." Cole's voice cut through the air like a blade. "You're not touching her." The squad raised their weapons. But so did Cole. 10 rifles versus 1 man. But he didn't move, didn't blink. Talishan pushed herself up slightly, trembling with the effort. "You abandoned me," she said loud. "Enough to stop them all. You left me to die," she continued, her voice shaking but clear. "But this human, he carried me, he bled for me, he fed me, healed me, defended me," Drovik scoffed. "And now he owns you? Is that what you've become?" Talai raised her chin. "No, he doesn't own me. He respects me." The soldiers looked at each other, unsure. Then she whispered something no one expected. "I revoke my service oath to the Zalari command." Gasps followed. Even Cole stared in shock. "You can't," Drovik barked. "You are property of the War Corps." "No," she said. "I'm free." Her voice cracked, but her eyes were on fire. Cole stepped closer to her, silently backing her words with his presence. Talai turned to him. "If you'll have me, I want to serve with you, not as a soldier," she said, "but as someone who finally understands what it means to protect." Cole looked down at her, his face calm, his answer clear in his eyes. Drovik spat on the ground. "She's tainted. Leave her, let's go." The squad hesitated, but obeyed. Turning back into the shadows, no final words, no farewell, just silence, and the sound of boots walking away for good. Later that night, Talai stared at the fire. Cole handed her water. "You sure about what you did?" he asked softly. She nodded. "For once, I didn't feel like trash, not because I stood tall, but because I was seen." Cole smiled. "You've always been more than they ever let you be." She looked at him, her voice barely a whisper. "Then help me become something new." The war kept burning across distant systems, but for once, Talishan had found silence, not the silence of death, not the cold silence of betrayal, but a silence where she could breathe, heal, think. She was no longer in the wild or in a ruined shelter. Now she was in a human medical facility, a clean, quiet outpost near the outer rim. They hadn't treated her like a prisoner or a threat. They had called her guest. For the first time in her life, she was not property. And Cole? He visited her every single day. The medroom door hissed open. She turned her head, already knowing the sound of his boots. "Good timing," she said with a smirk. "I was just dreaming about walking again." Cole grinned, holding two metal walking supports in his arms. "Then wake up, soldier. We're making it real." Tali blinked, her heart jumping. She pushed herself upright. Her legs still shook, still ached, but they moved. Cole gently placed the supports beside her. "You ready?" "No," she whispered, "but I'm doing it anyway." With a grunt, she swung her legs down and planted her feet on the cold floor. Her knees wobbled, threatening to buckle. But Cole stood beside her, not holding, not lifting, just there. She gripped the supports and leaned forward, sweat forming on her brow. One breath, one step. Her foot moved, shaky, unsure, but it moved. Cole didn't clap, didn't cheer. He just smiled, because this wasn't victory. This was freedom. Step by step, she crossed the room. It felt like walking through a storm, every movement a battle, but she did it. When she reached the wall, she turned back slowly, tears in her eyes. "I never thought I'd walk again," she said. Cole shrugged. "You never met me before." She laughed, breathless. Then her smile faded into something serious. "You gave me back more than just my legs, Cole." He tilted his head. "What did I give you?" She walked those final few steps back to him, standing tall, face to face. "You gave me myself," she said. "The version they tried to kill." Later that evening, as the sun dipped behind the metal cliffs outside, they sat together on a quiet balcony. Tali wore simple human clothes, now no more war paint, no more Zalari insignia. She wasn't a soldier anymore, not theirs, anyway. Cole handed her a datapad. "You sure about this?" She nodded. "If I'm going to fight again, it'll be for something real." The screen blinked. Application to Earth Defense Alliance Civilian Integration Program. Name, Talishan, formerly Zalari Empire. Status, Independent Ally requested. Unit, Sergeant Cole, Command Team. She pressed Submit. As the stars lit up the sky, Cole leaned back in his chair, arms crossed behind his head. "Crazy universe, huh?" he said. Tali looked at the stars, then at him. "Maybe," she said softly. "But I found one sane person in it," he chuckled. "Careful. I've got a reputation to protect." She reached for his hand, not as a patient, not as a refugee, but as an equal, and when he didn't pull away, she knew. She had found her place, not as a warrior, not as a weapon, but as someone who mattered, and she would never be left behind again.